Hey, 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 how are y'all doing? We are here today to paint our fall candle, and it's going to be so much fun. Um, I know a lot of people commented on the poll that we took on are we going to paint the fall candle? Are we going to paint the other design, the candy corn gumball machine? And a lot of people picked this one. It was really down the middle, but a lot of people picked this one specifically to see how I was going to paint that flame. So let's get into it. Let's paint that. How cute is this one though? Can we talk about this one first? This is what we just painted over in the paint studio last week, and he turned out super duper cute. I cannot wait to get a hanger on him and get him hung up for the holidays. Here is our candle mason jar. So let's go ahead and get that right there to where you can see it. Good afternoon. How are you doing? We're going to do a quick little base coat of Indian turquoise. Now, what we're going to do, let me see if I can get both of this in the shot here. Actually, I'm probably going to put this over to the side for right now. We're going to ghost it out. So if you've never heard me use that term before, when in doubt, ghost it out. I'm going to want to lighten this Indian turquoise. It's one of my favorite colors for mason jar colors, but straight from the bottle, it's just too dark. So we're gonna mute it down a little bit with some white. So when in doubt, ghost it out. Ghosting it out just means we're gonna add some white to it. So we've got a puddle of Indian turquoise. How are y'all doing? What are y'all up to this afternoon? I have been waiting all day to paint this one with y'all. I've been excited. This one, when I designed it, I miss candles. I love candles. I can't burn candles much anymore. I have to be very picky about the candles that I do burn because they give me a headache. And they didn't in the past, but now they do. And it doesn't matter really what kind of candle it is. I don't know if it's the fragrance or if it's just I'm getting super sensitive, but they give me a headache, just like one of those dull, achy headaches. Now, a lot of people will ask me, do I base coat with white? You can. I don't typically do. The colors that I use, the reason I use them is because a lot of them are really good coverage paints. That's why I tend to gravitate towards them because they're not fussy. When you ghost a color out, I'm adding white to it. So I'm not real worried about a white base coat anyways, because I'm adding white with this. Now, if I did straight from the bottle, I probably would do a white base coat just out of precaution, but I don't always. So we're just going to give this a quick base coat. It's going to require 2 just to get rid of the streakiness. Let me see. I'm not seeing comments. I'm going to go back out. I'm going to come back into the live to see if I have any comments. I don't see any. I see people popping on, but I don't see any comments. If you're here, give me a hey, how you doing? A wave, a little something, something to let me know you're here. Oh, there's Dana. How are you really? Are you really live? I know it's been forever. I know it's like I've been over here trying to keep parents alive is what I've been telling people. I was like, I feel like I've spent the last year keeping my parents alive. Romo, baby. Graham just left. He came home to eat lunch and take a little snooze before he went back to work. And Romo hates it when we leave him. He usually sounds the alarm. Romo, come here, baby. Come here. He's not having it. He is not happy. There y'all are. You're headed to, where are we going to Illinois for? What's in Illinois? Are y'all going to a dog show? Hey, Marie. Hey, Marianne. Hey, Miss Pam. I get to see you in a couple weeks. All right, so I'm just blow drying because I'm going to put a second coat on. And remember, wet paint moves wet paint, and that just makes it very frustrating on us as painters. So when you're wanting to do a second coat, when you're wanting to build coverage or opacity, you really need to make sure this first coat is nice and dry. Otherwise, you're going to start pulling. Things are going to get kind of patchy. So to avoid frustration, just blow dry. Oh, a field trip. Yes. Well, when you know someone well enough. I knew our girl was at school, so I knew it wasn't to visit her. I figured it was, and it's not basketball season. Well, you know, is she cheering in college? Is she cheering in college, or does her college not have a cheer squad? All right, so now I'm going to add a second coat of my blue, and I'm not going to have to add as thick of one. I'm just adding it for opacity, just to build the coverage. Think about makeup. Okay, you got all the different kinds of coverages and foundations. You have, really sheer foundation, real lightweight foundation. We want full coverage. We want photo shoot ready, right? We want a nice, thick, full coverage base coat on this glass jar, okay? So, now I'm just slapping it on there. Okay. Here we go. I'm happy to be painting today. Today in school, we were working on direct objects and subjects and predicates, and my brain is grammared out. I'm ready to just have some fun and be crafty and hang out with y'all. I've missed y'all. Aww, she's not doing cheer, but she is going to be helping you at the school. Well, at least she's not. I don't want her. I was worried that she'd graduate and not have that. It's such a big part of her life. That's such a hard thing to walk away from. It always breaks my heart with the kids who graduate and that were on the football team, the basketball team, the cheer squad, the dance. That was, it's so much dedication that you put into it, and then all of a sudden you graduate and it's like it just stops. It comes to a screeching halt, and that's so much traumatizing. This coming from a girl that didn't do any of that. I was not on any of the sports team, not long at least. I was on the soccer team for just a snippet until some medical issues caught up with me and I couldn't stay. I kept passing out with no warning. And so I wasn't able to stay on the field without passing out. So it became a liability issue. All right. So now that we have a firm foundation, a good base coat, we're going to go on and move to our next step, which is the orange. So we've got this right here. This is what we're working towards. We've already painted our background, which is the jar color. Don't worry. We're going to come back and make it look like it wraps the whole candle, but really it really is our background. Okay. Our next layer, you know me, I like to paint in layers, is the candle part. So let's go ahead and paint the candle part. And for that, I'm going to be using Warm Sunset. There's just nothing to do. She's just not keeping you busy anymore. Y'all are empty nesters. How are y'all handling that? That was the baby. All right, remember, we're ghosting it out. I want to make a lighter shade because I'm going to come back and I'm going to use the straight from the bottle orange to be my actual shade. So if you notice, the candle itself is one color, okay? And then you come back in with a shading color and it makes your image look rounded in 3D almost. So what I like to do is I like to use my color. If it's a darker color, like this Warm Sunset, it's a darker orange. It's not quite burnt orange, but it's a darker orange. It's not Crayola orange, okay? So I like to use Warm Sunset and I like to ghost it out. That way I can come back with straight from the bottle Warm Sunset and create a shade, and they don't clash. They're, because my mixed color has a parent color. That Warm Sunset is one of the parent colors. It doesn't clash. It stays within the color family. I think I want it to be just a tad yellow. I think I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow. Y'all, I love to mix colors. I love it. A tad yellow, just a tad. Just want it to have some warmth to it. Y'all don't have to do that. That's just me being very particular. Okay, there we go. Oh, she still lives at home. Okay. Well, I kind of like that though. keeps her out of trouble. All right, I'm going to turn it to the side because our project does not have to stay in one position and we just have to conform to it. No, we let it conform to our needs. So I'm going to move this thing around and I'm going to take my time and I'm going to paint this base coat as precise as I can. You notice my hand is real close to the bristles. That's because I'm wanting to maintain control. I really don't need I don't need it to be a flowy brush stroke. I want it to be nice and controlled. So I'm holding it real close to the bristles. If I'm wanting to get flow and some movement in my brush strokes, I would back up on this brush. But I want this to be super controlled. I'm being very careful about my pressure when I'm up close to that edge. Okay. My nose is itching. I don't know what. A lot of times that's because I ate something I shouldn't have, but I know I didn't. I'm very careful. Usually whenever I eat something I shouldn't have, my nose gets real agitated. Like there's dust in the air or something like that. It just gets real agitated and it starts itching. And I have no one to blame but myself. But I know I have it. I know I've been a real good girl today. So I don't know why my nose is itching other than maybe dealing with this paint rag that I like to use as to wipe my brush on. I just pulled it out of the dryer, so it may have some fluff to it. All right, so that's just a base coat. It doesn't have to be pretty, and it doesn't, it's okay if it's got a couple of streaks in there. We're going to fix that with our second coat. Remember, we typically do 2 coats of every color just because of brush strokes. Even if it is a 1-coat wonder, sometimes we got to smooth out those brush strokes. Happy paint day. I know I love a good paint day. I've been looking forward to this all day. I can't stand the taste of pumpkin spice latte, but it's my favorite candle scent. Okay. I tried Starbucks. By the way, oh, it's Thursday. Y'all, it's Thursday. When I get done painting, I might go get me. I don't know. Okay. If you're a Starbucks person, Thursdays during September are buy one, get one free from noon to, I don't know when it cuts off. I think it's till 5. Either noon to close or noon to 5. I don't remember. Y'all, it's on the app. But all the fall flavors are buy one, get one free at Starbucks. In case you didn't know, and it doesn't matter what kind of drink you get, it just has to be one of the fall flavors. And the apple crisp isn't bad. It sounds strange. It sounds real strange when it comes to coffee flavor, but that's what I got last time, and it actually was really good. It's a little sweet, you wouldn't expect it to be, but they have a little bit of caramel in it, and caramel's really sweet, and I usually take caramel out of everything. Hey, Debbie. Been taking care of my youngest granddaughter. Oh, is she okay? Is she okay? Or are you just Nana daycare? Because we have Nana daycare here sometimes too. Like whenever I go to retreats and stuff, Nana daycare is in full swing. Okay, so we're going for the second coat, and because I was really good about my first coat, I call that a firm foundation. I gave it a firm foundation to stand on. I don't have to get right up on the edge if I don't want to. I did a really good job at keeping clean lines the first layer. That all I'm really doing is just smoothing out brush strokes. Yep, daycare. Okay. I am one to support businesses when I can. And if I had the need for childcare, like a consistent need for childcare, I have in the past had after school programs, and then I also have had Nana daycare. So my kids have had best of both worlds, especially my oldest, because he's been in school longer than Ray. This is Ray's 3rd year in school, including preschool, and we have partaken in both after school programs and Nana daycare. And now I'm home the majority of the time. I was home 24/7, but when both of them started going to school, I started helping out at my old high school, and it has, I'm still home when they're home, but every once in a while they request to go to Nana daycare because Nana daycare comes with snacks. Hey, how are you doing? I haven't seen your face in a while, Miss Robinson. Of course, my face hasn't been on live in a while, so that's not your fault. That's my fault. All right, so like I said, we just have our base coat ready. We're going to blow dry that, and we're going to go to our next layer. I like to do all my shading all at once. When I bust out my angle brush and a palette for shading, I like to knock all that out. So we're going to get all our base coating done, all of our color blocking done. So our next step, our next layer, let's get our color mock-up out. So we painted the glass jar, the candle itself. Our next layer is the label. And after the label, we'll paint the pumpkin. Pumpkin's super fun to paint. Super fun to paint. Okay, well, you have not missed much. I have not been live in a hot minute. It feels like I probably went live. I'm really giving myself some grace here, maybe 3 times this whole summer, just because, my parents have been so sick. But we're on the tail end of what's going on over here, and I feel like I'm in a position where I can be more consistent than I had been over the summer. I'm very thankful for what I do and being able to be flexible. But man, I didn't realize how much of a toll it was taking on me mentally not to be painting on a consistent basis, especially live, because I don't get a whole lot of adult interaction. And this really fills my cup most weeks, is being able to paint with y'all. Miss Pam, you'll do great. Don't be nervous. It's gonna go so smooth. You're gonna love it. All right, we're just blow drying because I don't want to run my arm through wet paint. Okay. So now we're going to paint our label for our candle, and that color we're going to go with. Let's go with Hauser. I pulled out Hauser Light. I'm thinking maybe Hauser Medium. Let me double check. Let me pull both out and compare. Let me see. Where is my Hauser Medium? I was a really good girl over the weekend, and I pulled out all my most used paint colors, and I put them all in one box. Now, I have multiple of some colors, like every good paint hoarder does, but I have about 50 paint shades that I typically gravitate towards. And I know that sounds like a lot, but whenever I looked at the ones that I have, but I don't gravitate, there's still a good 50 that I have a bottle of and maybe use once or twice here or there, but they're not like my go-to colors. I have about 50 paint bottles here, including metallics, okay, that are like my go-to shades. And I put them all in this box, and it's like one of those Tupperware boxes that have a lid. And that way I feel like I had a genius idea. I was like, why don't I put it in one of these? And that way, when I want to go paint somewhere, all I have to do is put the lid on and go. Like all the paints that I always use are in there. And that way, whenever I empty one, I just throw it on the top of the box. And whenever I go buying paint, whenever I need paint, all I have to do is grab the empty ones. That's what I used to do with, that's what I do with my groceries. And whenever we have an empty of something that needs to be replaced, the boys know if they empty something, then they need to trigger me somehow to let me know. And the way they do that is they put the empty on the counter. And I'm the one that typically throws it away. But they'll put the empty on the counter to let me know, hey, I used the last one of these. And that way I know to put it on the grocery list. My son has gotten really good about he throws it away. he'll write it on the physical list on the fridge, because our list is on the fridge. All right, so we're painting the label. Remember, I'm wanting to get nice and precise. So I'm real close to my bristles. Real close. I'm holding real close. I'm using Hauser Light. I thought about Hauser Medium and ghosting it out, and I was like, no, let's go ahead and go Hauser Light, and then we'll just shade with Hauser Medium. Hey, Deetra. Hey, Cindy. No, they used to, and I went a little psycho on them. I went a little psycho. You know, moms tend to go a little psycho sometimes, and that was one of those moments, and it was like, I think it was truly traumatizing for both of them. So they don't just put it back in the pantry like they used to. They used to put it in the pantry, and then I would open up and find empty things in the pantry or something that has like 1 or 2 left. Not enough to make a full anything out of. And then they, you know, would say, well, I didn't empty it. Joker, you better write that on the list. If you're putting it back, show some common sense. Come on. Hayden has gotten really good. Like, he's really aware. He's really aware of what's helpful and what's not. And so he's real good about being able to fill that little need for me, like not make me go fishing for the grocery list. All right, again, gonna need 2 coats for sure. So let's blow dry that. I'm gonna put my brush in the dirty water. That's hilarious. Marie, if you ever do that, I need proof. And I want to know, I need video. Remember, wet paint moves wet paint, and I still have a little wet spot right here, and I don't want to cause myself frustration. So we're going to blow dry that. We're going to make sure it's dry before we go in with a second coat. That is an amazing, amazing idea. How's Norm doing? How's he doing? Okay. So we're going to put our second coat on here. And like I said, I did really good with my first coat, so I'm not having to get real close to the edge. I can get about 1/8 of an inch off and not worry about it not having full coverage. That's all we're doing here. We're just minimizing streaks. We're just minimizing streaks and making sure that we have full coverage, no bare spots. Remember, wet paint moves wet paint, and that's just frustrating. So let's not make something fun frustrating. Let's make sure there we go. We should be good. That should be, I know I see a little bit of a bare spot right here. So I don't want to load my brush up with a lot of paint because it's close to the edge. I just want just enough for me to swipe. Remember, I'm real close to the bristles. I'm not back here. Back here means I want movement. I want flowiness in my brush strokes. Up here, when I choke up on the, kind of like a bat when you're playing baseball, you choke up on the bat because you don't really want the ball to go far. When you really want good control over your brush, you want to come up real close to the bristles. When you want flowiness and you want to make some really pretty curves, and that's when you want to back up off of the brush. He's doing good. Good. Is it off center for a reason? Just a question from my brain. I wanted, at first I was showing mixture. So I mixed here and I mixed here. I was showing mixtures. I just haven't moved it over yet. So I wanted you to be able to see the palette and the piece. I know it drives me crazy too sometimes whenever it's not centered. Gotcha. Oh, you mean this part? Oh, I thought you meant like it being a little off of the screen. I gotcha. I know. No, I'm with you. Visually, you know me. I'm big on symmetry. I'm a symmetrical girl all the way. That would have drove me crazy. Okay. Yeah, that you know. So they're doing a cremation and they're gonna bury his ashes. I told Mama, I was like, if you because they both want to be cremated. I was like, when you pass, and she said, well, you could just cremate me and put, bury me with Daddy on his plot. And I was like, y'all are going in shoe boxes and going in the back of the closet. I was like, no, we're not doing that. She never understands when I say that. I'm just joking, but I told her, I was like, no, you're getting put in the shoebox and you're going in the back of the closet. We'll bring you out. We'll wrap you up like a present every Christmas, and it'll be a surprise on who unwraps you every year. It's like it'll be a game. Who's got Mama? But we have really dark humor in our family, super dark. So that wouldn't fly in most families, but in my family, that's what we would do. I know. A lot of my friends, they have either done the burial or they've done a mausoleum. I think it called a mausoleum where the ashes are put into like a wall. It's like a memorial wall. And I have a friend that's what they did. That's what they did earlier this year. They had ashes put in an urn, and the urn went into the mausoleum inside, like encased in a wall. And I had heard of it, but like in special occasions. I didn't know locally we did this at one of our local cemeteries. So I actually thought that was kind of cool. Um, but yes, it takes a while to get that process done. So let's see. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so the next step is really fun. We're gonna paint our pumpkin, but the thing that's gonna keep us from going crazy when painting our pumpkin is let's do this in the right order. And I'm lying. We're not painting our pumpkin yet. We're going to do our stencil first. Hold on. Stand by. Let me pick a stencil. Do I want to do cheetah print? Do I want to do pretty patterns? I think I want to do pretty patterns, but that's too big. That is too big. Let's see what I've got here. I've got cheetah print. That's the smaller print. I've got some other stencils over here. That's the only thing I didn't pull ahead of time, but they're right here. I usually have them just right here in a little caddy to where I can grab them. The ones that I don't use on a regular basis, they are in a portfolio that I have right behind me. Haha, here's what we got. We've got honeycomb. That does not make sense. Not with this. Ooh, that's pretty. That's pretty. We've got some florals. I keep telling my kids and husband I want the ding dong, the witch is deaf from the Wizard of Oz. Oh, let me tell you what my idea is. Can I tell you my idea? Can we talk about how crazy your friend is? I'm your friend. Oh, we have dark humor too. It keeps me from going. I'm serious. My dark humor, like it's not dark in the sense of it's like, okay, again, that's a good background. That's mermaid, but it doesn't make sense on my pumpkin spice latte over here, or my pumpkin spice candle. So I think we're gonna do one of these. Should we do flowers or swirls? Let's vote on that. Flowers or swirls. And if you're wanting the paint list, if you want all the paint colors that we're going to be using in here today, put the word candle down in the comments, and I'll come back later and I'll drop the paint list of every color that we use today in the comments where you put the word candle. I'll respond to your candle with the paint list for you to be able to print to go with this design. I like swirls. Okay, Marie's voting swirls. So here's while we're voting, I'm going to tell you this little story. So we're voting flowers or swirls. Okay. I told Graham I kind of want to be cremated. I've lost a lot of loved ones and we've buried them. Okay. Like in my family, that's just what you do. You get buried. Mom is actually the first one that wants to be cremated when she passes. And so I've decided, and you know, I want to be cremated too. Don't spend the money on a plot for me. I love my family. I do visit my dad's plot. I do visit my grandparents' plots, but I don't do it often enough, you know, like to justify buying real estate in my brain. This is just how my brain works. So I was like, you know what? I probably would opt for cremation as well. And here's what I want. My son is like, I got you, Mom. I'm going to do it. I'm going to have this done. I was like, I want to be put in a really cute hourglass. And I want glitter to be mixed with my ashes. And I want to be put on the mantle. And one, nobody knows what it is. They just think it's this hourglass, right? And it's really cute because it's got glitter in there too. And then whenever y'all have a get together, just flip me over and spend some time with me. And then, but it only works. This only works if you're like, hold on, mom's, let's go spend some time with mom. And then you just flip the hourglass over and they're like, whoa, what just happened here? And now you can explain it. And Hayden is just like, Mom, I got you. I got you. We will have that done. And Graham cannot handle the conversation because one, we're talking about me being gone, but that's what I want. So what have we decided? Swirls. Okay, we got swirls. Swirl. Okay, it's unanimous. Swirls. That makes me happy because it is full coverage. Like we can get a full print or stencil out of what we got going on here. All right, so I have I've used this before. This is a makeup sponge and it's already been used once. That doesn't mean that it's done. So we're just going to trim that off. Okay. This is Hauser Light. That is our base coat color. So what we're going to do is we're going to tone it down. We're going to ghost it out just about a half a shade, maybe a full shade. We're going to add some white to it. Okay. So we've got some Hauser Light. Okay. We don't need a lot because we're just stenciling one little area. We need some white. Okay. You mix whatever color you want to mix. It could be a barely there color. It could be a drastic change. It just depends on what look you're going for. This is a pretty drastic change, okay? But that's okay. Okay, so there we go. We're going to take our makeup sponge. We're going to go dab, 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 dab. We're going to dab it until we can't dab no more. I'm going to load it one more time. Because this is the first time we're loading this color. I always do it 2 or 3 times just to get it fully saturated. And by the time it sounds like it's sticking a little bit, like you hear that little squish, that's when I know I'm good and ready to go. We just don't want it to be sopping wet, okay? Now you can tape this down or you can hold it down with your fingers. Since I'm not moving the stencil at all, I'm just going to hold it down with my fingers. I like drastic change. Okay. You like drastic change. So let's go with a drastic look. And we're going to fussy paint this on here, okay? That means, and I'm going to round one of these corners just because that is a sharp corner. I'm just going to put like a little, I'm going to cut the corner off. I'm going to hold my stencil down. Don't worry if you cross the line, you can either do what I call a double stencil technique, which means you take a Post-it note or something and you slide it in between and create a barrier, kind of like painter's tape, or you just go back over it with a baby wipe later and just kind of clean up your edges. Whatever you're most comfortable with. I think the drastic look is going to be really good for this particular design just because it's a background. It's behind something. It's not necessarily on the top layer. We've got a pumpkin sitting on top of it. So this label is not catching anybody's eyes, just adding visual interest. This is not the showstopper of the design. That flame and the pumpkin are the showstoppers. That's what, when we look at it, that's what's going to catch our eye the most, not this label. This label is just adding some visual interest, some little bit of texture without adding actual texture. If you donate your body to science, you don't pay any. Oh, see, I have a friend that's what they want to do, but they're in the medical world. And so they're real adamant about, donating to science. I think, I can't remember all the details, but they have been looking into that for years. That's something that they have been talking about for years. And that's something that, I have toyed around with the idea, and it is very beneficial. It is super beneficial for, finding answers for certain things. But from what I understand from my friends doing the research, there's so many rules to donating your body to science. I mean, like, not necessarily big, huge hurdles, but like there's certain rules. There was one rule that they told me about, and I don't remember what the rule was, but I remember going, that can get you kicked off of that list. And I'm just like, really? Huh? I can't remember. It was something like, it wasn't like a super common thing, so a lot of people have to worry about it, but it was just like a super random, like, that just seems like you're being a little picky there. But I guess if it's being donated to science, they got to be a little picky. All right, so we've got our stencil going, and boom! How pretty is that? And it's nice and drastic compared to our Barely There that I typically like to do. I love a Barely There stencil, but I think drastic changes have a nice place in the stenciling world as well. So let's just clean up our edges without taking up any of that orange paint. So I'm just making sure I have a nice damp, fresh baby wipe. And I'm not scrubbing. It maybe looks like I'm scrubbing. I'm just kind of like barely passing that baby wipe over. And I'm making sure I have a nice, clean, saturated part of the baby wipe. And I'm just kind of like doing that number to it. Just trying to I know I said the word like a million times. I'm sorry. I just annoyed myself with it. I'm just trying to reactivate the dampness of that stenciled paint without it smudging or scraping up that orange. So if you get paint where it's not supposed to be and it's stenciled, it's such a light layer of paint. It's really not, it's not hard to work. It's not hard to clean up those little spots. There we go. How cute is that? Okay. Let's see. I like Barely There also, but I love that. Yes. And just wait till we put that pumpkin on there. It's going to look super duper cute, which that's our next step. So we're going to bust out our milk chocolate. Okay. So this is milk chocolate. I'm probably going to not guess this out. I think we're going to go straight in with our milk chocolate. So we've got our milk chocolate on our palette. We don't need a lot. I have an angle brush that I'm doing this with. Let's see. It's going to take 1 or 2 coats. Y'all know I like to do 2 just for good measure. I'm painting the stem just because it would be harder to come in later and tuck that stem in without painting over our pumpkin. And our pumpkin we're going to work on. Like, that's going to be the thing that we really do, like, our pumpkin and our flame are going to be what we work on. So we want to take our time and not have to accidentally mess something up just because we painted over with the brown. So let's go ahead and paint the brown first and get it out of the way. And then we can spend time on our pumpkin without having to worry about, will I mess it up when I go to stick that stem in? Let's just paint the stem and be done with it. Y'all don't forget, if you know you're going to need this paint list, like all the paints that I used today to paint this later, you can put the word candle in the comments and I'll come back later and I'll have a complete paint list of all the paints that I use, so that all you have to do is copy and print. All you do is you copy the comment that I send you and send it to your printer, and or copy and paste it to whatever you need it for. That way you can save the paint list for this design. And if you're wondering what size I'm painting, I want this to be a porch cleaner attachment or a interchangeable door hanger attachment where you get to change out the seasonal pieces. And so this is about 10 inches. It's about 10 inches on its longest side. And you get it from Home Creations. That's where I have all my designs. If you're wanting to know where you can get blanks, Home Creations, Milling and Signage. And I will put that down in the comments as well after I'm done painting for you to be able to find not only this design, but all my fall designs. Every design that I have is sent over there. They cut and ship all of our wooden blanks. You can get them from 4-inch to 24-inch. You can have rails put on it. If you don't know what rails are, those are super fun. It's like a wreath and a door hanger had a baby. They're so much fun. I'll probably do one not too long from now just to show you one. They're so much, and they're real cute for the winter. I love them in wintertime. I'm looking for my cup. I'm thirsty. I forgot that I put it behind me so I wouldn't knock it over. Okay. So there's our stem. We're done with it. We're not going to do anything else to it other than blow dry it real quick. And then now we're going to get to painting our pumpkin. Our pumpkin, we're going to do what I call messy painting. They do an amazing job. They ship really nice quality blanks. They use birch. I think it's birch wood, so it's nice, lightweight. You save on shipping because it's nice wood, but it's light. It's nice and light, so the shipping isn't as expensive because it's heavy wood. It's real nice and lightweight wood, and they ship really fast. I don't think I've waited. I think when I put my orders in, I think mine are usually shipped within a couple of days and headed towards me. And I live so close to them that once it ships, it's usually here next day. Now, I can't say that for if you live in California or what, but usually the second I get the notification that it has shipped, I normally have it within the next at least the next 24 hours. Okay, I'm going to use some light buttermilk for my pumpkin. All right, so I have Warm Sunset and light buttermilk. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can get that. Can you see? Yeah, you can see this. Okay, I have my angle brush. We're going to work from the outside in. So the center section of our pumpkin is going to be the last thing that we paint, okay? I'm going to base coat the pumpkin orange, okay? Because I know it's going to need 2 coats, so let's just go ahead and base coat it the most prominent color. We're going to base coat it orange. This is Warm Sunset. Like I said, if you need the paint list after I'm done painting, you want to know every paint that I'm using, or you don't want to have to sit down and write down everything as I'm painting, or you can't hang out with me the entire time I'm painting, but you want to be able to come back and recreate this and use the same colors that I use, feel free to put the word candle in the comments, and I'll come back and I will give you the full paint list of every color that I used today. Remember, when you're wanting good control over your brush, be real close to the bristles. Have your hand real close. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be this close. You want to be about an inch or so away from the bristles. Okay. And like I said, we're just putting a base coat on because we know it's going to cause us to have to do at least 2 coats. So we're just preparing ourselves to have full coverage. Okay, and remember, don't conform to your artwork. Make your artwork conform to your needs. Spin it around. Do what you need to do to be able to see those lines. And paint comfortably. Don't feel like you have to keep it in one particular position like this. A lot of people, I'll watch people paint, and this is how they paint. They paint just like this. They never move the project. And it just, it is so uncomfortable doing that. So don't do that to yourself. Move that project around. When it's all said and done and your project is painted, nobody's going to know you flipped that thing around a million times. Nobody's going to be able to tell how many times you flipped it by the way that you painted it. Promise. 100% promise. This is why I wouldn't want to donate my body for science. Look up this article. Man pleads guilty to charges. For this, oh, I have to go and look at that. Yeah, see, and they are in, I want to say in Alabama, so that makes sense. It like once it ships, like the second it ships, it probably does take a couple of days to get to you in Nevada. But I'm about, I think the drive itself is only 8 hours between my house and their house. All right, so if you notice, I put 2 different colors. I have warm sunset and light buttermilk, okay? And I'm just going in. Now, do you have to use light buttermilk? No. You can use yellow if you want a nice funky looking pumpkin, nice light and happy pumpkin. I kind of want it to stay in the orange family. You can use yellows, you can use reds, you can use browns. They create some of the coolest looking pumpkins because all the fall colors work. You just kind of don't want to use green. One, because it already has green in the background. I call this messy painting. I'm just letting the color fall wherever it falls, and I'm just making sure there's no big streaks that are all one color. If you notice, it's kind of fading in and out of orange, in and out of light buttermilk. You really don't see where orange starts and light buttermilk begins. They're just playing well together, okay? Now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do this other outside section. Again, just dipping both, not being too worried about how much of one and how much of the other. It's just about a half and half dip. And I'm going to just follow the shape of the pumpkin, or at least a section of the pumpkin that I'm painting. I'm taking my time. You don't want to rush that process. And I'm not overworking it. I'm going over it maybe once or twice, just smoothing out those brush strokes. I'm going to do it over again because that's what I did over here. I did two layers of it. Okay, so there's, now that looks really weird, doesn't it? Looks super weird. Let's blow dry it. You're about to see magic happen, okay? Okay. We're going to do the same thing for the center section, but instead of doing a C shape, because pretty much what we've been doing is a C. We've been painting the shape. Now we're going to paint the shape of an O. So we're going to do 1/2 of the O. Okay, I'm going to flip it over. We're going to paint the other half of the O. And make them meet in the middle. Okay, just be very aware. All we're doing is smoothing out brush strokes. Just like to clean it up in the middle where it meets. I just do a couple swipes in the middle. And as long as this paint stays wet, you can move it around. If it starts to dry out on you, let me show you a little trick. I have a spritz bottle that I like to use. You can keep it wet, but just know that when you spritz something, it's breaking the paint down, okay? So it's going to make it a little thinner. That's okay. As long as you don't put too much water on there, you should be okay. There we go. Look at our happy little pumpkin. So that's what I like to call messy painting. Sometimes I'll refer to it as lazy painting because I'm not taking the time to build highlight. And sometimes you'll see me build highlight. You're going to see me build highlight in this flame. But that pumpkin, things go so much faster when you have multiple colors on that brush and you just let them play together. So we created shadow, base coat, and highlight all at the same time by having multiple shades on our brush and letting them play together. Okay. Now we have our pumpkin painted. Let's paint our flame. And then after that, we get to shade. The shading is the real fun part. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint this Sunny Day. Okay, that's one of my favorite yellows. We have Sunny Day. Banana Cream would be a good replacement for that. Sometimes you can find one over the other. It's a real easy technique. That messy painting is such an easy technique. I will say it takes a little bit of getting used to, especially if you're one that has historically built up your highlight and built up your shadow. Kind of like I do with my shading. I like to build it up. But when I know I'm going to need a good bit of highlight, like that pumpkin needed a good bit of highlight. I'm not going to want to sit there and buff highlight on there because the way you build highlight is you're going to buff it on there. Okay, so I'm just base coating this flame. The majority of it is yellow. Like I said, we're going to use Sunny Day. I wanted to blow dry, but my brain said, grab the mister. I had to stop myself from misting my flame. Hey, Terry. All right, we're going to build opacity, which means we needed to blow dry that completely dry so that we could put a second coat on our flame. Second coat of this Sunny Day, this bright pastel yellow. Okay. Okay, there we go. I'm doing good. I'm doing good now that I can paint. I've been staring at this one all day long. It took me forever to cut it out this morning. My laser, the program for my laser wanted to update, and I'm like, no, I only have to cut one thing out. This is so frustrating. And it took me about 45 minutes to cut out a 5-minute project, but we got it done. So other than that, I've had a great day. Are you waking up from your nap, or are you about to go down for a nap before you go into work tonight? Okay. Let's see if that's completely dry. I think it needs a little bit more dry because we need this to be bone dry. We're going to build this flame up. And I'm about to show you what I mean by buff on the highlight, because for this part I am going to buff on highlight, but first I need to shade. And now that we have all of our base coating done, we have all of our block coloring done, it's time to break out that angle brush and start throwing some shade on there. Let's start off with our flame. That's the thing that most people were asking, how are you going to do that? Let's go ahead and just jump right into it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to build this up. This flame really needs some work, okay? It's not going to be hard. It's going to be rinse and repeat, but it's going to take some time to build it up. So what we're going to do is we're going to add marigold. It's my favorite color to shade when we're messing with this yellow. It is almost the perfect darker shade to this yellow, especially for those soft fall shades. Let me see. I'm going to get a clean palette here. Let's use this. That way you can see the transition and how I'm loading my brush. So I'm just going to put a dot. That's way more paint than we'll ever need, especially for that little bitty spot. I'm going to add a little bit of marigold to my brush. This is only on the first half of my brush. It's on the toe. Okay, I'm just working it into my brush. I don't need a lot of paint, okay? I'm going to take my spritzer. This is a fine mist spray bottle. I got it at Hobby Lobby. You can get them online on Amazon. I have bought little miniature versions of it before on Amazon, and they all work the same. I find mine in the fine art section at Hobby Lobby. You can also find it wherever you find the alcohol inks. So if you go into Hobby Lobby and ask the associate, like, I'm looking for the alcohol inks, this is going to be right there with it, because I think technically that's what it's intended for, is to spritz alcohol for the alcohol inks to activate. So all I'm doing is I'm bringing the shade all the way to the point. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. It's going to be a very small transition at first. Trust the process. Oh no, Terry! Did you just? I thought you just had COVID. Was it you? I don't. Maybe it wasn't you. Oh man, I hope you feel better soon. I thought we were coming down with COVID, with the old vid the other day, and it ended up just being allergies, thank God. But it was for a minute there. We thought we were going to have to quarantine for a while. Okay, so we are just building this color up. I am going to spritz it one time. It's such a small area. We don't want to overwater it, but we need to keep it nice and moist, nice and wet, to be able to play around with this color. So all I'm doing is sweeping the lightest little layer of paint. I haven't switched up types of paint or anything like that. This is the same paint that I would be base coating with. Okay. The one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to spritz too close. You want to have a good distance away. I'm usually about a good 8 inches away from my project. All right, so I'm just building this up. I'm trying to get it to be about half of the flame. All right, so you can already start seeing how this right here is looking lighter and this down here is looking darker, okay? It's not a huge transition. It's just a transition, okay? We're going to go a step further, okay? I feel like this is going to be so drastic right here. This is going to be really drastic. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a little Santa Red with my marigold instead of going straight Santa Red. Okay. Again, that tiny little drop right there is more than I'll ever need. So now I'm going to come over here with my marigold. Remember, I told you I was going to mix it in with my marigold. So I'm loading my brush up with marigold. I'm going to get the tiniest little bit of red. So I'm pretty much making my own custom shade color here. There we go. Yep, that's perfect right there. Do you see what I did there? Okay. So now I'm coming down here. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to sweep that on to the very bottom. We're just going to have the lightest little layer. And my project is getting dry, so I'm going to spritz it just so that my paint moves and flows. I'm not going to bring it up as high as I did the marigold. I'm just going to have it taper off just a little bit. Now, do you see right there? See how it's starting to, looks like it's flickering just a little bit? We're going to let that dry. I'm probably going to put a second coat on that. Just like painting, when you're adding your shadows and your shades, if you're wanting to build opacity, say that's more sheer than you're wanting it. You want to build opacity. You have to dry and apply. Okay? We're going to dry and reapply. So we don't want to frustrate ourselves by wet paint moving wet paint. We want to dry and reapply. Nope. See, watch. Okay, so all up here there were water droplets, and in this orange there were water droplets. Because it's just water, they disappear. They disappear. But because these were this is still a little wet right here. Because these were white heavy, white is very chalky, so it takes a while for those water droplets to dry. What you don't want to do is you don't want to seal while they're still wet. So the trick to that is make sure that everything is still completely dry before you put that sealer on it. What I like to do, sometimes I will seal right here on the live with you, but a lot of times you won't see me seal it. I like to let things sit for 24 hours before I add my sealer, because I want to make sure that everything is completely dry. So don't worry about those water. As long as you're using clean water, those water droplets should never be a problem. Okay. Here we go. Now, that's about as much as I want to do to the darkness. I want to add my highlight now. So what I'm going to do, I have a million of these brushes everywhere. I'm constantly opening new ones, but this is a makeup brush, okay? It's the crease brush specifically, but I use all different types. I have the big blush brush. I have the little concealer brush. This is my favorite one to buff on like round spots of highlight. So all we're going to do is we're going to use this. Now, we do need that to be dry, so we're about to blow dry that. You don't want to do this step on something that's wet. So we are going to blow dry. That's my friend had COVID over about a week or so ago, and she really thought she had the flu. So Cindy, her COVID, her strain of COVID was just like yours, where she said she just hurt. She didn't really feel sick. She just hurt so bad. Okay. There we go. Everything is nice and dry. I'm going to take my little buffer brush. This is a makeup brush. I get this at Dollar Tree, but I think you can get it at Target and Walmart and all that good stuff. Let me see if I can find a scrap piece of dark paper. Here we go. So Dana, if you're still hanging out with me, that should look familiar. We're going to take a little bit of white, okay? Because this is yellow, the lightest we can go is white, right? So I'm going to take a little bit of white, put it on my brush. That's way more than I'm going to need. I'm going to, just like with stenciling, I'm going to tap, 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 tap. I'm going to be tapping here for a second. I love this one too. So if you notice, the water droplets are completely gone. They're completely gone. They just kind of look scary, but that's why I use the fine mister. I like the fine mister because they do dry so fast, and they don't, the droplets are a lot smaller. They pretty much evaporate the second they hit the paint. Okay, so there we go. You can't even see paint on the brush anymore, but I promise you there's some there. I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to go in circles right here where it's the lightest yellow. I'm just going to go in circles. Just going to buff that on. And it's going to build it up, okay? It's just going to build it up. What you don't want to go in with is wet paint. So that's wet paint. We don't want to go in with wet paint on our brush. Tap, 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 tap. I got mine at Hobby Lobby, but I have bought some on Amazon as well. But they were smaller versions of it. I got mine at Hobby Lobby. I found it in 2 different sections, and some people say that they can only find it in one section. I think it depends on what size of a Hobby Lobby you have. I find mine in the Tim Holtz section where the alcohol paints are, and the fancy stamping pads are. I think this is intended for alcohol ink because it's such a fine mister, but I use it for this. Okay, something I didn't think to tell you is every so often I do rotate my brush. Like I just kind of rotate it to where the paint that is on the brush that you can barely see, if you rotate it about a quarter of the way, it'll hit this a little differently. Now you see how it kind of just glows in the center right there? You brought it, just gave it life, and now it looks round. Okay, so that's it. That's all we need. I'm done with this. I'm going to throw it in the water. Now, if you were wanting to switch colors, what you can do is you can take a really wet baby wipe and rub the excess paint off and move to the next color. But I don't typically switch colors. All right, I'm done with the flame. I'm done with it, okay? So we can leave this as is, or we can do like in the mock-up. We can put the transition lines for the threading of the candle where the lid would go. And I think I will be doing that. So let me grab my angle brush because we're going to be working with that angle brush. It's going to become our best friend. Grab my big wipe. I just noticed right here I have some orange paint. I don't know if I'll be able to get that up without taking up the blue. It's super dry. No, I did. Woohoo! Woohoo! All right. So here's where we have to make a decision. This was our base coat color. Now we did not go straight from the bottle to that. We ghosted it out, but I don't think we ghosted it out enough. I don't think we added enough white to it for the straight from the bottle color to be a shade color. So I think what we're going to do is just like we did with the red. We're going to put our straight from the bottle color and a darker blue. I'm going to use True Blue. But I'm not going to mix them together traditionally. I'm going to mix them on the brush, okay? Just like we did with the red. So I'm going to, just on the toe of the brush, just on the toe of the brush. And I'm going to add in a darker blue. That way it's not such a drastic change, but it is a change. So we're going to bring our mister. We're going to wet our surface. Okay. And I'm only going to wet about one side at a time. So I'll do this side, turn it around. I'll do this side, but I don't want to necessarily wet the entire thing because it's going to dry before I ever get there. We're just adding I keep saying highlight. It's not a highlight. It's a shadow. You see this side versus this side. This side looks a little rounded versus this side looking really flat. Now, here we go. We're going to go over this. It's going to be scary. Trust the process. Trust the process. Okay. I need to get a little bit more on my brush. Okay, here we go. Here we go. And it's a little dry, so I'm going to add some water. And all I'm doing is I'm just adding just a shadow of where this glass would be curving. And if I feel like this line is too harsh, what I would do is I would clean my brush, add some water, go in with a clean brush. Do not go in with a brush that has paint on it. Go in with a clean brush and just move that paint around. Okay, just move it around. That water helps you flow, okay? It helps you just move that paint around. That was bugging me, the way that kind of laid there. Okay. So now that flame looks even more real because it looks tucked into the glass. So this is how we're given the illusion that this glass wraps around. Now we could have done like a wash of blue over the entire thing to make it look encapsulated in the glass, but I really wanted this orange to be showcased. I didn't want it to look like a murky orange. I wanted it to look pumpkin-y. So we had to make a decision there. It was a stylistic decision, and I think we made the right one. But there is a way to make your glass look super glassy. But this gives the illusion of that glass. So like I said, you don't want it to be super saturated. You just want to be able to wash this tiny layer of paint around the edges. We're just giving just a little bit of a lift. Okay. There we go. Nope, I want that to be a little darker, so let's add a little bit more darker blue. There we go. There we go. How's it looking so far? Okay, so now that we've got, oh, there's a little water droplet right there. I want to kind of smooth out. There we go. There we go. Let's see. There we go. All right. So there's the first part of the jar. Now let's work on the threading, because that might trip some people up. But really, you're just following curves, okay? So right here, we're going to go straight across, and we're going to follow this curve right here, okay? We're going to go straight across. We're going to bring one in, one in. It's going to be real simple, okay? So I'm going to use, actually, this curve as a guide. Let me show you how I do that. Okay. So I'm going to spritz it, okay? And I'm going to put my I'm going to kind of give myself a starting and a stopping point. Okay, here we go. Just kind of curve it in. I'm just going to make them meet in the middle. So it's just straight across. There we go. So you see how I kind of kept my brush spaced. I kept the heel of my brush the same distance from this line right here that we've already done. And that helped me create a parallel line, even though it was a little curved. But because this one's curved, if I kept the same spacing, I was able to keep that as kind of matchy-matchy to those. All right, now all we have to do, let's put let's put our topper on. So we're gonna shade these little humps right here, and we're gonna shade the top. Okay. So let's load our brush up. Remember, we were going straight from the bottle, Indian turquoise. A little bit of true blue to deepen it up just a little bit. We don't want it to be too drastic. Spritz it. Don't be too close to your project because you don't want your water droplets to be too big because those will leave watermarks. You can either spritz your project or you can spritz your brush. I'm going to spritz my brush off to the side to show you. You get the same effect. I feel like you get a smoother effect when you spritz your project. Let's see. I need to do this little side right here. Nothing came out. I don't know what I did there, but nothing came out at that time. All right, there we go. We're just going to make things meet. There we go. Oh, it just looks so good. I don't know if I'm going to do the extra threads. I think I like it just like this. I did the extra threads. Kind of visualize this. Yeah, I guess I can do it this way and just kind of do it that way, and then just kind of come up on the chisels and just kind of give a barely there. That's a skippable step. This is just me kind of playing around. Okay, yeah, no, I like it. I like it. We're going to leave it as this. I like it. Okay, so there we go. There we have the threads. We have all the shading. Let's shade our pumpkin candle part. Now remember, we ghosted out this pumpkin color so that we could use the warm sunset as our shade color. So let's come back in. Leave it on for me if you don't mind.
Okay.
And then we're just going to test this out. It may not be dark enough. And don't worry, I have a go-to orange that I like to shade with when I can't use the straight from the bottle color. But I think we're going to be okay. Uh-oh, I got a little outside the lines. I got a little happy there. Let me take my baby wipe. Just buff that wet paint away. There we go. So we're just going to follow the same rules. All we're doing is pretty much outlining the shape with the straight from the bottle color. I do a couple of short brush strokes and then I come back and I do one long continuous brush stroke. And I'm not using a lot of pressure. So if you use a lot of pressure, you're going to get a very harsh layer of paint. You're going to get a very forced look. You really want this to be nice and light and almost like a blend, an ombre effect where it kind of fades from one color to the next. I'm using a very light pressure. My bristles are barely sweeping over the wood. They're just kind of gliding, just like a feather-like touch. I was really close to my project there with that spritz. It may create some water droplets now. I don't think so, though. Okay, again, we're going all the way around. Go underneath the flame. Create that puddle of wax right there. Go underneath the flame. Told y'all that I got really close to my project and I was going to create water droplets, and I did. So I'm going to smooth those out. While making a complete mess. There we go. Baby wipes are your friend. I'm going to fix that blue because that's going to make me mad. Because we worked really hard on that. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now, we've got that completely shaded the perimeter. We still have this little curve right here. We still have this curve right here that needs to kind of be dramatized a little bit. So we're just going to create a little curve. This just shows our petal of wax from it being burned for a couple of hours. You know, when you burn a candle for a little bit, this is just a soft little ring that's being created here. There we go. I was gonna say that flame looks like it's just floating there, but I forgot we're gonna put a little stem there for our candle stem or wick. You can. I'm being persnickety about my water bottle. I was like, it's not going to create any kind of problems once it dries. It's just visually right now I see it and I just want to get it. You can let it dry and it's going to be fine. It's just my brain is like, go get that. I'm a picker. Like I have to pick at it. So now you can, okay. So if you use blending gel, if you have problems using the water, blending gel will be your friend. Now here's the problem with the blending gel. This is why I stopped using it. It was getting really hard to find. Even ordering it online, it was getting super hard to find. Stores were not stocking it anymore. I was trying to find an alternative. There really wasn't one because blending gel, it's just a magical product, right? And I wanted to find an alternative in case it was coming down to that they were just not making it anymore. I really thought that they were coming down to not, discontinuing the product. And that's when I came across the mister. And I was like, you know what? That serves its purpose. It makes me happy. It does its job. I like it. So I just adopted the mister and never looked back. We have to do a shadow on the label and we're done other than adding a stem there. So what we're going to use is we're going to use Hauser Medium because I think this was Hauser Light. Let's try it. Let's see if it's dark enough. Pretty sure that was Hauser Light that we did the background with. So let's go here. Yeah, I think this can be dark enough. Remember, just one side at a time. And I will say the thing I like about water too is if you kind of get over the line, you can take your finger and wipe it away as long as it's wet. You don't necessarily have to bust the baby wipe out. Okay, we're going to do like we did everything else. We're just outlining it. If it's not dark enough, don't feel like you have to deepen the actual paint itself. Let everything dry and build that up. And I think for this color, we will. So there's something about Hauser Medium. It's a little sheerer. Is that a word? Sheerer. More sheer. Yeah, let's go with that. That makes more sense. It's a little bit more sheer than the medium, the light and the dark. The light and the dark seem to have better coverage than the medium does. And so I do like to add 2 layers of medium whenever I do shade. I do like to do that. Light pressure. Don't overload your brush with paint. All right, so we're going to let that dry. We're going to go over it with a second coat. Hey, Becca Boo. I see you there. All right, let's dry this and add our second layer. Just like base coating or clearing brush strokes, you want each layer to be completely dry before going in with your second coat. We're just building opacity. We're not going in with super thick layer of paint, and we're going in with super light pressure. We're just making sure we sweep this on. I'm not walking it in or bringing it, making it any wider than the width of my brush. By the time the paint gets to the back end of my brush, it's completely faded out. So if you notice, I'm going over this pumpkin and you don't see any green, right? There's no green. So that's how much paint we're laying down. It's only about the first half, maybe third of my brush. Okay, I'm gonna just spritz that. I've been avoiding spritzing because I don't want to oversaturate it. There we go. I think that right there is the look I'm going for. There we go. All right, let's blow dry everything and then we'll bust our paint pen out. Now, don't forget, if you're looking for the paint list, if you want to know every color of paint that I use for this project, put the word candle down in the comments, and I will respond to your comment with the list of paints that we used today. That way you don't have to keep a running list, or if you missed part of it and you missed a couple of colors, I don't mind coming back and providing you with that. So put the word candle down in the comments, and that will get you all the information regarding this design right here and the colors that we used. Now we're gonna finish off with a 1MR. Just because this is a smaller project, this is not a door hanger size. Door hanger size, I would have used probably either a 3M or a 5M. Those are just the size of the tip of the marker. I'm going to use a 1MR for this because I want really nice, clean. So that's how thick a 1MR is, okay? We're going to do stitches. So we're just going to go all the way around each section of the pumpkin. I'm going to try and keep them about the same size. We're going to turn our project. And if we need to curve a stitch, we will. Oh, my hand's gonna. Let's go this way. I love a good quilted or stitched project. I feel like it just has this homey look to it. All right, so let's go this way. The pumpkin, the stem, they're all going to get stitches. So I call this a quilted look. So we're going to be doing a barn quilt over in the paint studio later this month as a bonus. And part of the look is this right here, is knowing where to put your stitching. But it's just a finishing. So I'm really excited to show them all the steps that I take to make something look quilted or like fabric, even though we painted it to make it look like fabric, because I truly believe that that's a style that will never go out of style. Just having that homemade hand stitched look, that embroidered look. Oh, we still need to put in. So we're going to go from the center of the candle about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch as a stem or a wick. I'm gonna do a double layer of that. I'm gonna make it double thick. There we go. Just to give it a little bit more oomph to it. Okay. Okay. So there is our pumpkin spice candle. That's mason jar. That it really wasn't a hard project. The hardest part was probably the flame, and I showed you how to make that easy. And then also probably the threading of your mason jar. Everything else was simple shading, simple color blocking, simple stenciling, and simple paint pen work. That does not take a lot of skill to build the skills to get to a project like this. So all it takes is practice, patience, and perseverance. Okay. It takes practice to build the skills to be where you want to be. And you can't just go from step 1 to step 20 by skipping all the steps in between and expecting step 20 to be where you want to be. You really got to put the work in. So when it comes to this shading, I recommend practicing it. It is such a good technique to learn. It helps me out in so many little areas where it takes my paintings from looking pretty but flat to pretty and not flat. Like it gives it that extra oomph that make it look so much more like I put so much more work into it, and I really didn't. If you enjoyed this project, I highly recommend you checking out some of my older videos and hanging out with me on Thursday afternoons here, typically around 1 o'clock, between 1 and 2 o'clock, but I'll always announce it in my stories. So keep up with my stories. That's where I announce all my lives. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye.